Happy Mother's Day again. We are thrilled that you're here and thrilled that you've chosen to reserve this spot and to make room for God in your life. Today, I'm going to ask you to do something great. Somebody said one time that when Lincoln was President of the United States, he would go to Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church in Washington, D.C., and he would stay kind of in a side room where he could hear the pastor and what he had to say. And he left one day and he went back home, and Mary Todd said to him, what did he say today? How did he do? And Lincoln said this: he didn't ask us to do anything great. Well, today I'm going to ask you to do something great that actually began in the heart of God before we were even born. We're going to talk around the theme today of what it means to be chosen and understanding what that is all about. In Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "For he chose us in him before the foundation of the world to be holy and blameless in love before him." So today I'm going to challenge you to love those that are close to you. Hey, by the way, if your mama's sitting close to you, just lean over and say, "Hey, Mom, I love you. Thanks for not killing me when I was growing up," right? You've heard your mom say before, "God help you if you could ever do that again." It was her prayer life at that moment. So we're grateful because we all want to belong. Part of the whole reason around the name tag thing that we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 weeks is instead of just being that person you pass, we wanted you to have a chance to get to know one another. If you're new with us today, we want to be family, and we want you to feel that sense of belonging. But today I want to challenge you to be 1 in 100. I want to challenge you to be one of 100 people to make a difference on the other side of the world. Back in 2008, 2009, I met a man named Michael Alamu who worked with Christian Horizons, an international missions agency. And we were working in Ethiopia at the time, and it's our goal basically as part of a church to touch every continent in the world before the next 5 or 6 years are open. And we're in Africa, we're in Europe, we're in Central America, we're in South America, and now we're headed to Asia to make a sustainable ministry difference that will last beyond our generation. Incidentally, Greg, who just prayed before him, Greg grew up in a little town called Pointe, South Carolina, and my dad was a pastor at a church called Lydia Mills before I was even born. And some of the people that were interacted in his life were actually members of my dad's church that helped to bring him up. And it's a small world. And today we're going to see how God makes it even smaller in our relationships with one another. So, why Sri Lanka? And where is Sri Lanka? We got some pictures we're going to show. They're going to roll through behind the screen here. Here's some beautiful Sri Lankan kids. Absolutely. That one on the left, he's mine. Anyway, no, not really. I don't know. They've got some World Vision umbrellas to keep them out of the rain. And a lot of people, well, so where is Sri Lanka? It's right here. It's at the tip of India as an island nation over in the central part of the Bay of Bengal. And they're people of great need. As a matter of fact, the very first thing that we're going to do through what we do today is we're going to give them clean water to drink, because the average kid in the world travels 6 miles or 6,000 meters or 4 miles every day back and forth to get water as part of their work for their family. And along the way, they're attacked, they're assaulted. And by just doing the very first thing that we're going to do collectively is we sponsor children through education and giving them hygiene and agriculture, so food that they can eat, and clean water is going to make a difference. But here's what happened. Michael Alamu was working with Christian Horizons. I said, "So where's the most beautiful nation in the world you've ever been?" He said, "Sri Lanka." And unfortunately, we can't be there anymore because we've been driven out by the authorities. And so at that point in time, I said, "You know, God, if there's ever a point in time where you give us the opportunity as a church to touch the other side of the world, we'll go to Sri Lanka." And then lo and behold, I found out that as part of this chosen initiative, you're going to find out more from our guest speaker, that Sri Lanka became available. So there are people on the other side of the world who've already prayed for you, loved you, and are grateful for you because of your being present here in the service today. And we're going to challenge you today to be one of 100 people. So here's what that means. We're going to encourage you to sponsor a child. So how much is that, Pastor Ray? It's $38 a month. $1.22 a day if you count 30 to 31 days. $1.25. It's like a McDonald's cup of coffee. I'm going to tell you something that will change your life. I have 2 children already. The gentleman that we're sponsoring, now 3 after this morning, the gentleman I'm about to introduce to you actually sponsors 14 children. Not only that, he has been a foster care father to 24 different children, one of whom is his adopted son, Anthony, and it is Anthony's birthday today. He's 16 years old. Is Anthony out there? Anthony, are you here? Can we see you if you are? Anyway, he's like, no, Dad's up there talking. I'm not going to do it. You can meet Anthony later on today. But I want to introduce to you my friend Peter Mutabazi, who grew up in Uganda as an abused kid and then as a street kid. And he's going to tell you his story as God has impacted his life. Peter, would you come on out and let everybody know who you are? Here he is, my friend Peter.
Well, that's really scary, you know. When you're in your home and they cheer you up, you get nervous. But truly, I am delighted to be here. This is my home church. This is my home, so I love it here. And thank Pastor for allowing me to be part of you. You know, I warn you, I speak 7 languages. So English is my 4th language, so I don't speak English well. So I might say something rude. I told the previous service you can throw iPhone 13, you can throw iPhone 12 at me. And promise I will send it to Africa as soon as I can. But truly a joy to be part of my church. This is my home, this is my community, and I love here. I love it so much, you know. And as a matter of fact, I just became a U.S. citizen, and Pastor Ray was like, I will be there. I'm sure he was there to remind me of how much I'm loved. As foreigners, sometimes we have no families, but you've truly made this home for me, and I'm so grateful. Well, I work for World Vision, and many of you know they've been here for more than 100 countries, more than 100 years, or 75 years, and they work in more than 100 countries all over the world, intervening in the lives of children. And that's what they do, and that's what I do on a weekly basis. I get to advocate or speak on behalf of the kids all over the world. But also I'm a foster dad, so that comes with me, and you're about to hear on how God led me there. You know, even working with World Vision, you know, I struggled coming from Africa, you know. When I first came here, I struggled with 2 things. We just dedicated kids, you saw. I did not have a name until when I was 2 years old. Reasons are, for every 100 that children were born in my village, 60 would die before the age of 2. So most moms didn't name their kids until when they were 2. So at 2, my mom called me a gift given to me by God. Habiyadimana means a produce given to us by God. So it's really cool to see, you know, that we get to dedicate, but also that we get to remember the moms in Sri Lanka today, that their kids are special to us, that we love them, and they are unique to us. And so the 2 things that really I struggled with was food, you know. I came from a world where I could never have 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day. And I came here and I saw how much food was thrown away. And I struggled to understand, God, do you love us the same way? Like, is there any way that you love us the same way, that others can die for lack of bowl of beans, not beans and rice, just beans? And the other part I struggled was, when I visited people's homes, I would find they had empty bedrooms. And I wonder, what are they for? Why are they empty? Here's why. I come from a world where 90% of my people live in a house as big as your garages. And there will be families between 8 to 15 members of the family that live in small huts, in small homes, and they make them home, and that's community. And I wondered what those rooms for. But also, I struggled also understanding that of all millions of kids in Uganda, I was chosen to come to the United States. And so that came with a question mark. You've been given, as I get to share my story, you get to know why. And today, as you hear my story, I want you to go to Sri Lanka. Today is about the kids in Sri Lanka, but through the journey, how I walked as a kid and what you're about to do to the mom, to the grandma, to the dad, to the community in Sri Lanka. So this verse really got me. Luke 12:48. From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. I knew I had been given so much. So this is what I did. I found out about foster. So I knew I'm single, and there's no way they can allow me to be a foster dad. So I walked in the foster care. I said, hey, can I be a mentor to teenagers? They said, well, have you ever thought of being a foster dad? I said, I don't qualify. They said, why? I said, I'm single. They're like, so? Well, I found out I can be a foster dad. So that day I signed up to be a foster dad. So since then, in the last almost 5 years, I've had 24 kids. And right now, yes, 24. So 4 years ago, I didn't have gray hair, I promise. Now I have. But I'm about to share with you a little pictures of my journey or my family. So let's begin with picture one. This is my family. As you can see, this is my kids. We also have 2 dogs. I thought, have children, add dogs, come on, you can't go wrong. But they are also therapy to our kids, and that's why we love them. Simba and Rafiki are our dogs. Next picture. Well, you say, because everyone is American, I needed something African, and I thought I should give her dogs African names so that I can always remember. This is my little 7-year-old, or 5-year-old, He's a joy in my life. Every time I put him to bed, he will always say, Dad, I am so glad you get to put me in bed. But what he's saying, I am glad I have someone that can put me to bed, that I wasn't sure there would be. Next. This is my daughter. She's somewhere running there. I thought I was the boss of the family, but as soon as she walked in, I lost that in a heartbeat. She gets to paint my nails about 4 times a day. I have no hair, but somehow she knows I have blonde hair that she works on every day. Dad, sit down. I'm going to work on your hair. And it's been a joy for me to understand and to love unconditionally and to learn how to listen without having a solution. Every time I pick her up from school, she'll always say, Dad, I'm glad you came to pick me up. But what she's saying, I wasn't sure you'll come. But now that I see you, I am glad you came to see me or to get me. Next picture. Well, about 16 months ago, I got a phone call from my social worker said, hey, there's a little boy. Well, I said, how little? I said, he's 16 and he's about to age out. Would you have him? And I thought they said 12 days, but she said, no, for 12 months, so he can age out at 18. And I said, yes, and he came to us. 4 weeks at our home, he came and said, Peter, I would like to talk to you, and it's really serious. When a foster kid tells you serious, you're like, okay, what did he do this time? But here's what he said. He said, I've been in 12 homes, and everyone has told me they love me, but at the end of the day, they still send me away. And I'm wondering, is there a way you could adopt me as well? So he's 18 now, and he's part of our family. He's changed my life in every way, shape, form. To think, 12 homes that everyone can tell you, you don't matter. You can go. Next picture. This is my 16, he just turned 16 today. In foster care, they get to teach us how to take care of kids with trauma. I get to learn that. But there's one thing they don't teach me, how to say goodbye. That is the hardest part. That we love them, but at the same time, we gotta say goodbye. So my number 10, 12 had left. So I told the social worker, I need a break. I cannot do this anymore. I need 3 months of break. So on Monday they left. On Friday, I get a phone call from the same social worker. I'm like, 3 months, not yet. But you know the need. And she said, could you take him, this 11-year-old? He's at the hospital. And I said, no. He said, just for the weekend. I said, okay. Don't tell me anything about him. I don't want to know. I don't want to get attached. And so he came at 3 in the morning. And as soon as the social worker left, I said, you can call me Mr. Peter, since my African name is long. He looked at me and said, can I call you my dad? And I said, hell no. No. Sorry, Pastor. Language should not be used in church. But I didn't know what to say. That's exactly what I said. And he looked at me. It's like, huh? But then he insisted. He said, since I'm 11, I was told I have the right to choose who my father should be. And so I choose you. And I still said no. And so they came to pick him out on Monday. This time I had the guts. After I signed the paperwork, now I can know what he did or why he's in. And I asked why. And they said he came in the foster care at 1 year and a half. He was put in a family that adopted him at 4. And that family just had dropped him at the hospital, never said goodbye, never gave him a reason why. They didn't want him anymore. And at that moment, I knew I was his dad because he'd already called me dad. So I said, give me the paperwork. He's going to school tomorrow. And so 2 years ago, he officially became my son that I adopted him as Anthony Mutabazi, right? And I'm glad he chose me. You know, most people think I chose Anthony. No, remember he was there for just a weekend. But I'm glad that he chose me forever. I'll be grateful for him. And as you listen to me, you might wonder, how does a guy come from Africa? He's single, fostered 24 kids, adopted one, in the process of adopting 3 more. Like, how do you do it? How? What I'm about to share with you is just about my journey, but also how someone intervened in my life and saw the best in me where nobody else saw that. And that's what you're about to do for the kids in Sri Lanka. My church. Let me tell you what you did for me this month. Next picture. I got a phone call 5 weeks ago, but I did not have a car that could fit us to fit because my car can only seat 5. But I knew we needed a larger car, so I called the pastor. I said, I want to take in these keys, but I have no car. He said, don't worry, just go get a car, go rent a car, and we'll make sure that you have that. And sure, he gave me a car for a month that I needed so I can take in these little ones. It takes a village. And Pointe Church, you're my village. Amen. You are my village. When I need a meal, I get to call. When I'm struggling, I get to sit with him and he will encourage me and say, Peter, you can do it because we are behind you. And you've been behind me. And for these little ones, for moms that just dedicated your kids, I wish we could do that for them as well. And not judge their mothers sometimes, that we go to learn where they come from and intervene. And that's what the point is all about. They want to know who those are hurting so they can help them, so you can be there for them. And that has been me. As a kid, I grew up among the poor of the poorest. I grew up in a place where no one told me to dream. No one told me to be hopeful. No one told me that there was tomorrow for me. I grew up in a home where I had one meal every other day. Beans or potatoes. We couldn't have both. We'd keep one for the other. So are the kids in Sri Lanka tonight. I would walk, me and my siblings, 3 to 4 miles to get water. 3 hours and 3 hours back. Do you get to be a kid? Do you go to school? No. So are the kids in Sri Lanka this morning. They walked those miles to go get water. I had 2 pairs of clothes, one for Monday to Saturday and one for Sunday. So are the kids in Sri Lanka tonight. My father, my parents, my mom could not afford $5 to send me to school. I could not go to school. $5. So are the kids in Sri Lanka today. I never saw a toy. I never saw anything that resembled a child growing up at all. I never had a pair of shoes until when I was 16 years old. So my son is 16 today. I told him, like, that was the first time I had a pair of shoes at your age right now. At the age of 4, I began to realize that my dad was different, that my dad was the most abusive man you could think of, that he was abusive in every shape you could think of. So I had Paul's on one side, but had a mean, abusive dad on the other side. I could not protect my mom. Today's Mother's Day. I could not do that because what was coming towards me was going towards her. And so one day at the age of 10, I thought, I should not let my dad kill me. I should give an opportunity to someone else. At least it's better to die in the hands of a stranger than my own dad. I had never been 20 miles away from my village. I went to the bus station and I asked the lady, which bus goes the farthest? She said, that one. I got on that bus and I went 500 miles away to Kampala. I didn't know where I was going, but at least I knew my own dad would never abuse me. I would rather be abused by someone else, but not my dad. I got to Kampala and I knew I had one option. Then one option was to be a street kid. And so I became a street kid. Street kids in Uganda, they don't beg for money. Most people don't make $1 a day. But we would work so hard. We learned how to survive by working. but it was also easy to steal while you're working. And that's the way we survived. And so one day, I'd been on the street for about 4 years. One day I walked and I saw a gentleman wearing khakis and glasses. We always knew those people are educated. And so that was my target. And so I went to help him so I can steal food. And he stopped. He said, "Stop." And he said, "What is your name?" And that rattled me. You know why? Because I had lived on the street for more than 4 years and no one had ever asked me what my name was. But he wanted to know my name. And that scared me, but also made me aware that I was human. All my life as a street kid, I was told I was garbage, I was an animal, I would never amount to anything. That's what the same thing I had from my dad. I wish you never born ever. That's what I had every day. And he's a stranger that truly wants to know my name. And that stopped me. And so he gave me something to eat and left. And then I saw him a week later. The second, the fourth week I kind of knew what car he drives, when he comes, where he parks. Like I knew that Monday I am not gonna steal, it's coming. And here's what joy for me. The kids in Sri Lanka have been told the last 3 months that there's a little church in North Carolina called the Pointe. They love you, and on Sunday the 8th, they're gonna talk about you. They know that. And they've been waiting with their grandparents and their mom that someone far away would want to have an interest in my child. That is special about what you're about to do. And so he offered me two things. I can give you food or I can send you to school. I was like, food, you know? But I knew to get food, I needed to think about the school as well. He also said there will be lunch, dinner, and supper. I was like, wait a minute. That's a place to go for a meal. And I said yes. I said yes not because I wanted to dream. I said yes not because I loved school. I said yes not because I was smart. I said yes for one reason. All my life, I always thought I was less of a human being because that's how I was treated, that's how I smelt, that's how I was told. And so I believed it, that I was less of a human being. But this stranger, by saying, would you like to go to school? It was like saying, it's like telling you guys, anyone want to go to Mars or to the moon? Anyone? She laughed. You know why? Because it's far-fetched. It's none of us go to bed saying, I wish I could go to the moon next week. That was for me. That's how I felt. School felt like going to the moon. And finally, I went to the school because he mentioned food. But also this man, he always called me by my name. He didn't see a smelling teenager. He did not see a thief. He just saw a little boy that mattered to him, that had a potential, that he wanted to do something for him. Just the same way you're about to do for kids in Sri Lanka, that you're about to change their lives. And he took me to school. And I waited for lunch. And then there was dinner, and I waited for breakfast, and then there was lunch. So in the process of waiting for the next meal, I figured I have to go to school in order to enjoy that meal. But also I found out I was smart in school. And that's when I stayed, and I went to school. But as he was driving me to school, I wanted to know why me. There were more than 1,000 kids on the streets of Kampala, but he chose one. And that one happened to be me. I wanted to know why. And he said, I just want to be faithful. I did not understand what faithful meant, but I was like, okay, but what does that mean? He said, I just want to be faithful to my God. That's it. Not you, but to my God. And it did not make sense. It didn't make sense. And I finally went to school. But here's the cool thing. Because he was faithful, God changed my life. Not only did I go to school, I went to high school, I went to the university in Uganda, and I got a scholarship to go study in England. And that's how I came to the United States. From a kindness of a stranger that saw a little boy that had been told all his life that he will never amount to anything. You see why Luke 12:48 is important to me? Too much is given, much is required. That I have been given so much. But here's another thing he's done. My family has come to know the Lord. Why? Because for my mom, she wondered, how can a stranger love my child as their child? Why would a stranger see the best in my child that we never saw? And I can tell you, this week, families in Sri Lanka are going to ask that question. Why would a small little church in Belmont, North Carolina, would want to love our kids that way? And for my mom, she got to know that he loved the Lord, and that's how he came to know, and that's how my family became believers. But not only did I go to university, all my siblings went to university. You know why? Because if Peter can do it, we can do it. That he gave me an example that I can show to my family. But also because he helped me, I was able to help my siblings as well. Through the kindness of a stranger that he did for one little boy. He also taught me how to forgive. Look, I thought the Bible was unfair. Like there's some things they said, I'm like, they don't make sense. For example, forgive even those who've wronged against you. To me, just that seemed so unfair. Like, wait a minute. There are some people that we can forgive, but there are others we should not. That includes my father in there. Here's what I wanted to do. I was 19, 20 now, so my plan was to go home and break my dad's both legs and then say, now it's payback time. Now I can pay you back for all the pain you did to me and to my mom. But my sponsor, he will always say, Peter, look at the life of Joseph. He reminded me, he would tell me the life of Joseph all the time. He said, remember when his brothers saw him in Egypt, what they said? He's going to kill us. But remember what he said? He said, for what you meant for evil, God has used for good to save lives. To save lives. And he taught me that. But through the kindness of one stranger that did not know me. The other part that he's given me the best, to be a foster dad. That there's no way I would have been a dad had he not showed me unconditional love. That there's no way I could have been a dad had he not shown me what a family looks like. That he helped me deal with my own trauma. He would use words of kindness every day. Peter, you matter. You're special. You're a gift. Me, I'm a gift to who? Those are kids in foster care. They are a gift to us. That we ought to love them unconditionally in every shape, form. Not to judge their parents, but to be there for them. That's my calling with my church, the Pointe. To love, to care, to make sure every child is seen, heard, and known. Why? Because someone did that for me. And as Pointe, that's what you're about to do for kids in Sri Lanka. Who sometimes feel unwanted, neglected, less. But today, as a small church, that you're about to tell them, you are special. You matter. The same way Pastor does to my kids every day. Every birthday of my kids, he's there. He gives them something, sometimes I'm like, you should have asked me first, you know? But we love him for that. That you're about to give and help the moms in Sri Lanka to say they matter. We sponsor 12 kids or 14 kids now. And my son sponsors one little boy who's an orphan. And every time he gets his letter, he's like, you know, Dad, I just can't wait to go see this little boy. You know? But for me, when I see, and hear him say that, to see a street kid one day who had no hope, that someone gave him an opportunity to be hopeful. And here I'm a dad that I've adopted my son, that he is doing the same way, that he's not a victim, but rather now he's changing the life of a little boy somewhere. With his 39, he gets to help the community. And that's what you're about to do, to give them dignity, to make sure that they are known and have a potential. And that's why I'm here today, to ask you, would you consider sponsoring little kids and little girls in Sri Lanka, in a small little village, that are looking for someone to say, you're seen, you're heard, you're known, and Jesus loves you. For the little mom, for the dad who's struggling to find that $5 to say, don't worry, I'll step in and help. Go be a dad. All I can do is give these resources for your little girl to make it somewhere. So we always bring sponsorship kids. You go in the lobby and you pick up who you want. But a few years ago, World Vision changed that. They said, what if, rather than you choosing the child, what if the kid was the one to choose you? So this whole week, the kids in Sri Lanka, they were told they're going to choose you to be their sponsor. So we've reversed it. Rather than you choose the child is going to choose you. So we're going to play you this little small video so you can see how it is all done.
Let me be filled with kindness and compassion for the one for whom you love and gave your son for humanity. Increase my love, so help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lies and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love.
I've watched this video about 1 million times, but every time it comes, I have to cry. As a little boy, waiting for that man to show, it was a Monday, and I will always wait, is he coming? Do I have to hustle today? And every time I saw him, I felt like 50 pounds of weight had gone off just because I saw him. For the kids in Sri Lanka, that's what they're looking for. And I like this, the new system. You know, it's the humble get to choose. It's the little ones sometimes that we've seen as nobody that get to be the one to choose you. And so this Thursday, they're having a party called the Pointe Church Party in Sri Lanka. We get to send pictures. We're going to take pictures, and then we're going to send them tonight. And then on Wednesday, they're going to have a party where every child walks in with mom and dad or grandpa, and they pick their own sponsor. And then on Sunday, you get to know who chose you. So next Sunday is called Reveal Sunday. You get to know who chose you and why they chose you. Usually we get to take the pastor to be the one to bring what he saw and represent you. But due to COVID restriction travels, he will go next year sometime to that small little village. And then on Wednesday, you get to really have fun, and they're going to have a party. We also have a Facebook page as well that is only for your church. So everyone who gets to be taking a picture, it goes to that Facebook. So you can, people in Sri Lanka, the staff, they get to see you, and you get to see them during this week. We don't want to reveal who, but we'll show you a little nibbly of what's going to happen so we can all be, as a family, sharing with one another. So we're really grateful, and I love the whole system, you know, the way Christ came and became nobody so he can choose us, the way we're doing the other way to the kids.
Man, this guy's my hero. How about that? Okay. There we go. He calls me a couple months ago. He says, I got 2 more little ones. He says, you already got 4. He said, I just need the cars. Okay. Well, unfortunately, somebody else is buying him a car on the West Coast. Isn't that awesome? But you guys got to help in the meantime to provide them with it. So now's that time where we're going to make a difference. I want to choose you to choose to do something great. Would you do it? It's your choice. Now, here's the deal. I promise you there's going to be food wherever you're going. And I know some of you can beat a hasty exit if you want. But if God has inspired you today, would you be one of 100 to take a child under your wing? It will change your life. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to run out to the lobby to get ready and that kind of stuff. Peter, thank you so much. Would you end for us? Bless you, brother.
Thank you. So here's a simple task. You got these while you're coming in. I think there's one on the right there on the screen. That number is 5. You're going to put up your phone. This is the only time you can pull up your phones. He said you can. Pull up your phone. You text 56170. And then in a text message, you put the point. And you're going to receive a link. And that link, I sponsor 14 kids. So that link is going to give you an opportunity to put in the information. Credit card, how many kids you want to be sponsored. Let's say if the kids choose one, if you want to choose 3 or 4, different kids will choose the same picture. Does that make sense? So you get to be chosen several times by different kids. And then they're going to bring the picture back. So how it works, you get a link, fill in the information, and then you bring the QR code to the pictures. There are people out there in orange, and then they're going to take your picture. And the deadline is tonight at 9. Why? Because we have to send them to Sri Lanka to be printed. And for you online, I don't know if you're there, but if you're there, here's what you do. Go to your closet, get your favorite pajamas you got on Christmas that you haven't opened, and take an epic picture and upload it, and it will come to us, and we'll send it as well. So on Sunday, you get to know who chose you. Again, QR code, text number, get the link, fill in the info, and then go take a picture. That's pretty much. So on this Mother's Day, you're going to make another mom, another dad in another country to say they matter, that they can do what God called to do. We just give them resources to help them do so in the best way. Isn't that cool? Well, my church, I love you so much, and I would like to dismiss you, if you want, to line up and go get your picture taken. Right? If you see kids running there, just stay on mine. Please don't. Thank you.